Evan in Chicago, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, am I on?
You are on the air.
Hi, my question, and if it's a question, it's regards to Donald Trump, and there's been a lot of talk lately about domestic terrorism, about hate crimes, and my question is, if we go back a few years to Osama bin Laden did not strap the bombs onto himself and walk into buildings and blow them up. His words inspired others to do these things. We now have a president whose words are inspiring people to do these things, yet we're not pointing a finger at him and saying, you're a terrorist leader. It's not just in our country. He's being referenced all over the world with these things happening, but no one is pointing the finger other than to say, you're stirring the pot. We already know he's doing that. But if Osama bin Laden was still alive and this shooting happened in El Paso and this person's manifesto referenced Osama bin Laden, and people would be jumping up and down and say, get that terrorist leader. But because it's referencing Donald Trump, no one seems to actually want to say what he's doing is the same thing with guns instead of bombs. And I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on that, and, can anything change with this?
Yeah, Kevin, so I do think there is a distinction for what otherwise is a very, very good point. The distinction being Osama bin Laden funded and coordinated much of the activities through al-Qaeda and therefore was doing more than just words. However, that does not negate for a second what you're saying in that Donald Trump's words have consequences. When the President of the United States says something, people will respond to that. And when he talks about invaders, people will respond to that. Tom and I had a little conversation earlier about the situation in Montana where the person knocked down the kid and sent him to the hospital for not taking his hat off. And I think, there is a direct connection to where the person's lawyer today filed. They thought they were doing what the president wanted for disrespecting the flag. So I completely agree with your main point. The president's words have huge consequences, and he still thinks he's a reality show star, and this is TV, not reality, and doesn't get that and doesn't want to take the responsibility. But I do think there's a distinction because Osama bin Laden was funding and coordinating specific activities where Donald Trump isn't doing that. So just something to think about as you talk about that comparison.
If I may read you, Congressman, the 10th article of impeachment against Andrew Johnson. This is just maybe about half of it. That said, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, unmindful of the high duties of his office and the dignities and proprieties thereof, and of the harmony and courtesies which ought to exist and be maintained, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff here about Congress, did excite the odium and resentment of all the good people of the United States against Congress and the laws by it duly and constitutionally enacted, and in pursuance of said design and intent, openly and publicly made and delivered with a loud voice certain intemperate, inflammatory, and scandalous harangues, and did therein utter loud threats and bitter menaces, as well against Congress as the laws of the United States duly enacted thereby, amid the cries, jeer, and the laughter of the multitudes then assembled and in hearing.
Boy, that certainly resembles someone we know.
Yeah. Just